Hello, everybody, and welcome to another YouTube Hangout. I'm super excited to be here with a legend, a living legend, an expert on so many topics from sales to productivity to time management and leadership and entrepreneurship and success. He's written over 80 different books. Many of them went on to be best-selling books, and he's got a new course out called Power Productivity. Mr. Brian Tracy. How are we doing, Brian?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm amazing. Thank you for making the time. I know you have a busy day shooting a bunch of videos for your channel, and I appreciate you carving out some time for us today.
It's a pleasure.
So we're talking about productivity, and my audience is mostly entrepreneurs who may be full-time on their business or part-time and they want to go full-time. They could be having a job and want to make that transition. This is one of the most common questions that we get is around this topic of productivity. How do I manage my time? How do I focus on the right things? And I know you've got this new course talking about it. For the entrepreneur who's getting started and trying to build this to a full-time business, or for the entrepreneur who's already in it full-time and trying to get to that next step, what are some of the tips that you would give them on how to be productive?
Well, I often ask my entrepreneurs, I say, why do you get up and go to bed in the morning, go to work in the morning? Why do you get out of bed? And they say, they think about it for a while. And I say, well, the answer is MMM, which means make more money. You don't go to work to make less money or to make the same money. You go to bed, you go to work to make more money. So I said, now, how do you make more money? Well, it's called SMS, and that means sell more stuff. And so you MMN by SMSing. Now, if you are not selling more stuff in the course of the day, then you might as well go home to bed and pull the curtain, pull the covers up over your head and go back to sleep, because you're of no value to yourself or anyone else. And then I start to point out, I learned this from a very successful man. Look around your office, all right? Look around your office. Now, what don't you see in your office? And the answer is you don't see any customers, all right? So why are you in your office? There's no customers there. You can't sell more stuff. And if you think you're going to sell more stuff by sending out tricky email messages, then you probably need some medication or a checkup from the neck up. The only way that you sell stuff is you go out there and you talk to customers and you ask them to buy it. And so if you're not out asking to buy it, now what are the three keys to selling more stuff? They are prospecting, presenting, and closing. Prospecting means finding new people who can and will buy and pay in a short period of time, and then telling them, presenting that your product or service and why it is the very best choice for them now, and then closing them and getting them to make a decision today, this minute. So therefore, all come together is prospecting, presenting, and closing is how you sell more stuff, which is why you got out of bed in the first place. Now, so they interviewed, interesting point, because I've been through all of this myself. They've interviewed entrepreneurs and they say, how important are sales to your business? And the entrepreneurs say, oh, most important thing of all, oh, sales, blood to the brain, oxygen, to the heart. Without that, there's no business. I say, okay, well, next question the researchers asked is, how much of your time in the course of the day do you spend selling more stuff? And they say, oh, all day long. That's all I do. It's all I think about. I get up in the morning, think about it all day. And so then they said, well, all right, do you mind if we follow you around with a camera and a stopwatch for 30 days and just see how you actually use your time? No problem at all. You know what they found out? The average entrepreneur spends 11% of their time prospecting, presenting, and closing.
Wow.
The other 89% is spent, excuse the expression, dicking around. They're doing fun things, easy things, checking their email again, sending out emails. They're making phone calls. They're checking their spam. They're spending so much time. 50% of working time today is wasted. And if they're not checking email, they're chatting with their friends, they're chatting with their buddies, and they're drinking coffee, and they're having lunch, and they're going around feeling like big shots because they've got their own business. But the fact of the matter is, if you're not prospecting, presenting, and closing, you might as well go home to bed, because you're of no value. Even worse, you're probably a detriment to other people because you're stopping them from working by talking to them or sending them email or keeping them busy. Email, according to the Harvard University, and it's about 3 studies I read this week, is killing entrepreneurs because they can't stop. They have this irresistible, almost like an addiction to electronic interruptions, and they can't stop. And so just yesterday, Wall Street Journal had this great article, which is what I've been saying for the last 5 years is turn it off. Don't turn it down, turn it off. Check it every 2 to 3 hours and then turn it off. Oh, what if it's an important message? Well, what you do is you say this: I check my email 3 times a day. If you've sent me an email between those times, I will get back to you as soon as I can. If this is an emergency, phone this number. And the phone will never ring. And then what you do is you do three 20-minute phases a day. First of all, you do your first check is at 10:30 or 11. You do not check your email in the morning because that immediately addicts you and you're on email all day long. So you wait till 10:30 or 11, check it once. Wait till 2 o'clock, check it again. Wait till 4:30, check it the third time. On and off in 20 minutes and shut it down. If you can do that, you'll double and triple your productivity. And that's one of about 100 ideas that I can give you. But if you'll just do that, that'll do more to help you to be successful in selling more stuff. Because if you're not wasting all this time doing that, you have only one choice, is to sell more stuff. Talk to customers, talk to people and ask them to buy your product.
I love the energy. I mean, you've been doing this for so many years, helped so many people, and you still get fired up about allowing people to add more creativity and productivity to their lives. I love that message about not starting the day with email and starting at 10:30 or 11 o'clock. What then do you recommend that entrepreneurs do start their day with?
Well, I'll give you a very simple process. I was teaching this to someone in Japan yesterday, actually a very large number of people in Japan yesterday. And it starts with a piece of paper and you. A piece of paper and a pen or pencil will make you rich. And we won't go into goal setting. It's a whole separate process. But make a list of everything that you have to do tomorrow. The best time to make your list is the night before. If you make a list of your whole day for tomorrow, your subconscious will work on your list overnight, and you'll wake up in the morning with ideas and insights that are sometimes quite amazing. So you make a list, and then you look at the list, and you ask this simple question. If I could only do one thing on this list before I was called out of town for a month, which one task would I want to be sure to get completed? And put a circle around that, your list. Now, when you get up in the morning, whatever time you start, and that's a very interesting point, wealthy people get up in the morning by 6 a.m. Poor people get up at 7 or afterwards. Wealthy people get up earlier, poor people get up later. Real simple. So if you're getting up around 7 o'clock, you're always going to be poor. For the simple reason, by the time you get started, the day is half finished, and now you're checking your email and you're talking to your friends, and then it's lunchtime and coffee time and spam time and everything else. Get up at 6 o'clock and develop a ritual. Get up, exercise, then sit, plan your day, get organized, and start to hit it at 8 o'clock. And the first thing you do is you start on your most important task. And then you concentrate single-mindedly on that task. You do not turn on your email. You do not turn on your telephone. You don't do anything except that one task. And you just do this one task until it's completed. Now, you've already agreed with yourself and the world that there's nothing more valuable in the world than you could do than this one task. So do this. And if you develop a habit of getting up in the morning and starting and completing your most important task, it will transform your life. It's one of the most incredible productivity habits ever discovered. And every person who discovers it, they see their income, their productivity, their performance, and their satisfaction just explode. It's very simple. But the question is, do you have the discipline? Do you have the self-control, the willpower to start and complete your most important task? If you don't have it, you can develop it with practice. If you develop with practice, it soon becomes easy and automatic. And if you just do this, your productivity will double the first day.
So what do you think holds people back? They know what they want to do, but they just can't keep the habit. They do it once and then they fall off the train, and then next month they do it again and they fall off the train. How do you make that consistent?
Well, you just keep working at it and working at it. The best way of all is to plan it in advance. Instead of sitting down, never start work without a list, and never start work without prioritizing your list. People sit down and they say, well, before I make a list, I'll check a little email, check a little spam, send something to my friends, see what's going on YouTube, and so on and so forth. And then they look up and it's 10 o'clock and they haven't done anything of value. So what you do is you have to say, what do they say? That if you start it right, it'll work out right. So start it on your most important task, and do that until it becomes a habit. Now, here's an interesting thing about checking email, is when you check email, it triggers the release of dopamine in your brain. Dopamine is a drug. And by the way, there's all kinds of books and articles and scientific studies on this. And dopamine is the same drug in cocaine. And what it does is it's triggered every time you have a shiny object or something new or different or interesting or sparkling. If a telephone rings next to you, you go bing, your brain releases endorphins, and you can't hardly wait to see what it is. So you're talking to somebody, and you could be talking to somebody about something very serious, and your telephone goes off, bing, your whole mind goes blank. The middle of the conversation stops. You grab for your phone, you pick it up, you look at it, you check it out and everything else. And then you come back. If you're working on a task, it takes an average of 17 minutes to get back to the task. And then there's another distraction. So another 17 minutes. Average adult is checking their email and their phone between 95 and 145 times a day.
That's crazy.
Which means they're like attention deficit disorder dogs. They're just literally running around back and forth the whole day. At the end of the day, they're exhausted. By the way, USA Today and Harvard have proved that you lose 1 IQ point for every hour that you leave your email on. At the end of the day, you've lost 10 IQ points. You actually become stupider throughout the day, dumber. And I ask this of my audiences. I say, have you ever finished a day where you don't think you've accomplished anything? You've been on email, responding to bings and beeps and rings and so on all day. And at the end of the day, you go home and honey says, what do you want for dinner? And you say, I don't know. I don't care. Anything. I just want to drink. Because you're so exhausted, you cannot even decide. Sit there and basically like you've just been, punched in the side of the head, because your brain is dead and you lose 10 IQ points. You get stupider throughout the day. You've got to turn that darn thing off if you want to remain sharp. Develop the habit. You say, I'm going to develop the habit and I'm going to give myself my reward, and my reward will be to check my email after I finished my first task. So all of success in life is task completion. Let me repeat that. I just had a long conversation with an entrepreneur, and he almost fell off his chair. I was coaching him, and he said he'd never heard that before. And then I spoke to this group I was telling you in Japan. I told them the same thing, and they were just flabbergasted. Is the key to success in life is task completion. If you don't complete tasks, you have no future. And so if task completion is the key, then what you do is you complete more and more important tasks. And if you start every day by completing the most important task, your brain actually releases endorphins. Now, endorphins is another chemical, and it's only released when you do something that is life-enhancing. And what that means is when you do something that is good for you, that enhances your life, that furthers you, it makes you happy. It releases energy. It raises your self-esteem. I sort of say, if you want to be a winner, how do you be a winner? Well, you win. And winning means you cross a finish line. So if you start and complete a task, you're actually winning. And you get a feeling of being a winner, which gives you a suffusion of energy and inspiration, and it drives you and motivates you to want to get that feeling again. So how do you get that feeling again? You start and complete another task. So I've developed the habit, and people who are successful have developed the habit of starting and completing tasks. So my wife comes in and says, dinner's in 5 minutes. So I look at my list and I say, okay, there's a 5-minute task. And what do you start and complete a 5-minute task? And each time you complete a task, you get a burst of endorphin. The bigger the task, the more endorphin. The more endorphin, the more quickly you become addicted to starting and completing important tasks. And every single successful person has a reputation for starting and completing important tasks. You want the job done, give it to him or her. You want the product served on time, you want the product completed, you want the product manufactured, shipped, delivered. Give it to him, give it to her, give it to that company, because they always deliver. That's the best reputation you can have if you want to get rich.
Interesting. And so it sounds like the completion of the task is really important to release the chemicals, to feel like a winner, feel like you've got that off your plate. I wonder how you break it down for when you're working on a bigger project. Say you're working on a book. You've done 80 plus. You're an expert on writing best-selling books. So if part of your most important thing is, hey, I'm on a book deadline, I need to get this done. Obviously, you won't be able to write an entire book in the first 2 hours of a day. So how would you chunk it down so that you get that feeling, you want to leave feeling like you accomplished something, right? That you got something done, you checked the box. How would you break down a bigger goal for the morning?
I'm assuming that everybody who is watching this wants to become rich sooner or later, and sooner is preferable. All right. The way that you become rich is you deliver results that people will pay you for. All right. Well, one of the greatest result tools in the world is called a checklist. And a checklist is very simply a list of every step in the process from step 1 to step 2 to step 3, very much like a recipe that is organized, that says this is what you do to prepare a particular dish. You do these things and you do these things and you bring out these things and you take these ingredients in this order, in this quantity and so on, and you put it all together. So some years ago, I did something which was really quite ridiculous. I wrote a book and I promoted the heck out of it. It cost me more to promote the book than I got from royalties or advances. And then after 3 months, they told me that we have no more interest in promoting your book. And I said, well, why? I mean, we're doing so well, interviews, blah, blah, blah. They said, well, after 3 months, the window closes. Is when you write a book, there's a 3-month window prior to the book coming out and 3 months after it comes out, and then it closes. We go on to other books. Your book is now an old story. It's yesterday's news. And I said, well, geez, what can I do with that? I said, I know, I'll write a book every 3 months. And I made that decision. I'm just now working today to finish my 82nd book. Wow. It'll be finished by Friday. And all with major publishers. Every one is published by major publishers, no self-publishing. And I'm talking about Simon & Schuster and Wiley, and I have just published 4 books with the biggest publisher in the world, Penguin Random House, and they came to me and asked for the book. So a person says, well, how do you write a book? I say, I take out my checklist, and I say, the first thing I need to know, we need to agree on the subject, all right? And I only write on a subject that I put in hundreds of hours of research and experience. The second thing we need to know is when is the drop dead date? When do you plan to publish the book, release the book, and when do you have to have it in your hands, which is usually fully 6 months before the book is published. Okay, so I work back from there, and then I've got a checklist. Now I know what the subject of the book is, when the book has to be in the hands of the publishers, and then I work all the way back to step 1. And step 1, and by the way, anybody who wants this, just go onto my website, briantracy.com, and just say Brian's checklist for writing. It's free. And it's 20 points, because people kept asking me, how do you write so many books? I've written now 4 or 5 books a year for 20 years. And now I say, well, I'm out of it now. I'm done. This last 2 months, I've gotten requests for 5 books for 2017 from this publisher and that publisher, and one other publisher wants 2. And I said, geez, I said, we're going to take a break. No, we want the books because these books sell. They just kind of tumble over each other. One sells and the second sells. So here's the formula. Just simply download the formula like a recipe, follow the formula. It takes tremendous discipline to write a book. You can appreciate this because you've written your book, your one word. I say writing a book is like digging a ditch to the horizon. Can you picture that? It's like, in other words, you just work and you lift up your head and all you can see is the horizon. You put your head down, you work and work and work. You look up, it's still the horizon out there, hour after hour after hour. But you got to get started.
Well, I'm going to check out the checklist. It took me 2 years to get this thing out, so I'm envious to get a new book out every 3 months. Maybe that list will help me too for the next version. Thank you for the tips. I'm looking at your new course, your Power Productivity course that you're selling online. You have this training for, I guess, anybody who wants to be more productive. I'm really intrigued by the first lesson, which is priming your mind for success. And I know that's something you talk a lot about, having the mindset for greatness, the mindset for success. Can you talk about that, how it relates to entrepreneurs and how it relates to being productive, the mindset for success?
Well, many years ago, I met a fellow who's an entrepreneur like us, very successful. But I knew that for several years, he had been just kind of drifting through his career and suddenly took off. I mean, he was just booming. His personality was completely different. He was starting early, working harder, staying later. He was up, he was positive. His income had gone over $100,000. And in another 2 years, it was over $200,000. And he was smoking. And so I asked him this question, and I never forgot the answer. I said, what was the turning point in your life? And he said, Brian, he said, I finally decided to get serious. I finally decided to quit screwing around. is I was talking all the time about I want to be successful and I want to make a lot of money and everything else. And I went home and watched television, and I started a little bit later and went for coffee with my friends during the day and so on. I finally decided that I'm going to get serious about this. And I put my head down, and from that time on, I started to get up earlier. I started to start earlier, work harder, stay later, don't waste time, hammer, hammer, hammer. I'll give you another example, very simple. No successful entrepreneurs work less than 6 days a week. No successful entrepreneurs work less than 60 hours a week. Anybody who thinks that they can have balance and work 8-hour days and spend, time in their personal life and so on, that's good. Get a job working for wages and worry about money all your life. Drive a used car, have holes in your shoes, and eat macaroni and cheese, because that's what people do who work from 8 to 5. Every single person who is wealthy hits it all the time. They get up earlier, they start earlier, and they hit it, and they work longer hours. But here's the great payoff, is they're happy all the time. Is if you're doing something that you enjoy, like you talk about your values, your one word, if you're doing something that you enjoy and you're getting better and better at it, you love your work. My partner here is Eric Berman, and Eric and I have been together for 15 years, and we're talking about self-discipline. And what we find is it takes more discipline not to work than to work. I mean, we really have to promise ourselves and others and block off the time, make non-refundable deposits on vacations and things like that, because other than that, we just love to work all the time. And so we work 10-hour days. If I work less than 10 hours, and I'm 72 now, if I work less than 10 hours, 6 days a week, I feel that somebody's going to find me out. They're going to take me away for defaulting on my responsibilities. And so it's really important. And if you are working on something that you enjoy and you're making progress, it gives you a steady flow of energy. You'll find that the successful entrepreneurs are happy all the time. They're just smiling all the time. They just love what they do and they want to do more of it. Now, the other thing is this, which is one of the things that we teach in maximum productivity, is that you've got to get better and better at what you do. This has to be like breathing in, breathing out. All successful people, again, studying the habits of self-made millionaires, they invest at least an hour a day in reading in their field. I spent 3 hours a day reading. I've done that for 50 years or more. I just read all the time. I read on planes, I read on trains, I read on automobiles, I read at home in the morning, I read in the evenings, I read on vacations. As you look at my house, I've read more than 6,000 books and more than 100,000 articles. When I just got a call from a publisher saying, we don't have a book from you for next year. Can you write us a book? And I said, well, what kind of a subject would you like? Well, what would be a good subject? And they came up with the idea, get on with it. Something like, overcoming resistance, procrastination, lack of willpower, something like that. And I said, okay, I could write on that subject. I read on it all the time. So I could sit down, I could write a book on that subject. I said, good, what's your drop dead date? And I've got a drop dead date, I think it's March 31st or something like that. And so, okay, March 31st, I can work back, I'll have the book in your hands on time. It'll be released by the end of the year. But the thing is, I'm constantly taking in new information. So people say, well, how can you write so many books? If you read my books, they run from anywhere from 120 pages to 350 pages, and they're chock-a-block jammed full of content. There's no entertainment books. There's no stories about me. Some people think that they are the most fascinating person in the history of the world. And so if they write every thought and feeling they've ever had in their whole life and every experience and so on, that this is going to be fascinating reading for other people. No, nobody cares about your story. Everybody cares about their story. But what they do care about is getting better so they can earn more money faster. So if you want to have a successful book, write a book that gives people tools that enable them to get better results faster and easier and make more money. And people will buy the book by the thousands and tens of thousands, and in my cases, by the millions. It's not a mystery.
I love it. I love your curiosity. And before we went live, when we were kind of the green room getting set up, the very first thing you asked me was, is that your book? And you had the curiosity to ask me about the book and what it's all about. And I love it. Reading that many hours a day is impressive. And I've got a good book for you to read if you want to add one to your list for a daily read.
Well, this morning I got an ad from Amazon before I came down here to talk to you, and it was the 12 best articles by Harvard Business Review. Best most practical articles on business success, condensed into a single book, $14.95. And what I do is I automatically click buy. When I see a good book, imagine 12 of the best articles from Harvard Business Review for 2016. What if there's one idea in one of those articles that saves me a year of hard work or doubles my income? So I don't say, oh, it's $14.97 and blah, 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 blah. I just go click. If you see a good book or a good article or a good magazine with a good article in the magazine, buy it automatically. Don't even hesitate, because my friend Jim Rohn used to say, it's not the cost of the book, it's the cost to your life of not knowing what's in that book. It's the cost to your life. Many people have become rich as a result of a single book. I was meeting for 4 hours just late last week, and this man bought the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill when he was about 20 years old. No high school, 20 years old, salesman, not a good salesman. He read the book and he read it. And he read the book and it changed his life. He started a business, then another business. He said he read the book every single year for the last 50 years, and he made $1 million every time he read the book. And that $1 million added to another $1 million. He's worth $740 million today. He said, and he reads the book every single year, and every year he makes another $1 million, which goes onto the pile, goes onto the pile and onto the pile. And I've heard that kind of a story forever. One book can make you rich. My book, Maximum Achievement, he said he read Maximum Achievement. He said it was better than Think and Grow Rich. He wished he'd had it 20 years before. Because in your book, the one word may give a person one insight, one idea about what they're doing or not doing that could change their whole lives. But if you don't read it, it's not possible for you to be exposed to that idea.
I love it. Well, you're getting tons of love in the live chat. Best You Pro is saying he loves all your book. They offer great tools. Andy is saying, thank you for sharing. Brian is my hero. Marty is saying, I have a lot of respect for Brian and Evan. So this is great, offering a ton of value. One of the sections in your Power Productivity course really struck me. It's lesson 8, which is you are responsible. And I think a lot of people will blame the president for them not being successful, and blame their parents, and blame the economy, and blame their lack of education and resources. We always have a reason for not being more successful. And that, I love that lesson, because I think it really speaks to the heart of successful entrepreneurs. Can you talk a little bit about accepting responsibility for where you are currently in life and where you need to go?
I'm one of the books I'm thinking of writing, if they keep on asking me to write books, it's going to be called Turning Points. And I just realized over the last couple of years that each one of us has turning points. As our lives are going along, and a turning point could be abrupt, the getting fired, going bankrupt, the end of a relationship or a marriage or something like that. It could be an abrupt turning point, or it could be just like sort of like a road that just kind of turns, and you kind of took this road. And then when you look back years later, you realize that that turning point changed your whole life forever. It could be just picking up a book. I have had a person write to me. He picked up one of my books he paid $1 for it at a used bookstore. He said within 3 years he was a millionaire. He said he didn't go to used bookstores. Here it was, and it's in a big box. And he just was sort of attracted to the title, and he picked it up, and it changed his life forever. And so you never know about these turning points. So going back to answering your question, I was 20 years old. I dropped out of high school. I was working on a construction job. I lived in a small apartment. It was 35 degrees below zero Fahrenheit outside. I had to take 3 buses. I had to get up at 5 in the morning and take 3 buses to my construction job. And then I had to take 3 buses back. I get back about 7:30, and I didn't have any money because it cost me everything I was earning as a construction laborer, carrying heavy stuff, to live. And I'm sitting there in I've got a little kitchen and a little bedroom. The bedroom and living room were the same one. I'd have to open up a couch to sleep and close it up so I could turn around. And I had a bathroom that was about as big as a telephone booth. So here I am sitting there, and it's cold as blazes, and I've got no money, and I've got no television. I've got no radio. I've got no music. I'm sitting there, and suddenly, like a light bulb, and I've written about this, I said a light bulb flashing in my face. I realized that this is my life. This is my life, and I am responsible. No one is going to come to the rescue. Nothing is going to change for me unless I change. It's nothing, nobody cares. I was 2,000, 3,000 miles from my parents, and I wasn't going back, unemployed, no money. I'd gotten my old car, and I drove it through an intersection, and somebody was drunk and came and just ruined the car. And the car wasn't savable anyway. It was about a $50 car at that time. So now I couldn't even drive my old junker. Anyway, I said, this is my life. And suddenly it dawned on me, I am responsible. I am responsible. I am responsible. And that changed my life forever. Talk about a turning point. My life turned abruptly. That didn't mean that suddenly I was successful and so on. It took a long time, because the second turning point for me, I realized it took a long time. Responsible for what? Well, I'm responsible for my own goals. So the second major turning point in my life is when I discovered goals. Oh my God, I still remember. I wrote down my first list of goals, and 30 days later, my life had transformed. I couldn't believe how powerful goals are. And then the third turning point, I still remember these, I call them a golden triangle, was when I discovered continuous learning, personal development. That you could learn anything you needed to learn to develop any skill you needed to achieve any goal you could set for yourself. Those three turning points made my life. And then years and years later, funny, Stephen Covey became a friend of mine. I wrote the introduction testimonial for his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And if you look at Stephen Covey, his first chapter is take charge, accept responsibility. Jack Canfield is a dear friend of mine who wrote the Success Principles. First chapter, accept responsibility, take charge of your life. You'll find that the smartest people who have ever examined success say, without taking responsibility, nothing can happen. But when you take responsibility, which means no excuses, no blaming, no criticizing, no complaining, once you take responsibility, your future is unlimited. Question, it makes me happy every time I think about that moment when I realized I am responsible.
I love it. Well, people in the live chat want to see this turning point video, book get released. So you've got an audience when it does come out, and some are saying that this video is their turning point. So always having an impact on the audience. Brian, I know your time. I know we've got to wrap things up. Your Power Productivity e-course. Is there a message you want to share for my audience? We've linked it up below in the description, but a message from you about what it's all about or what you're hoping people can learn from it.
Well, the entire future of your life is going to be determined by the results that you get. One of the things that I teach, I say, what is your most valuable financial asset? And the answer is your earning ability, your ability to earn money. And your ability to earn money is your ability to get results that people will pay you for. And so if you can increase your ability to get results, you increase your ability to earn money. And one of the things you do is accept responsibility, set goals and plans, all of which we teach you, and also to continuously get better and better at the most important things that you do to get results to earn money. All right, so saying that with regard to this program, I always ask people, I say, how would you like to double your income? Anybody here like to double their income? And I'll ask this of 100 or 1,000, or in one audience I had 18,000 people. And everybody says, yes, of course. I say, well, I can give you 7 ways to double your income in the course of this seminar. And so I'll give them to you as the seminar goes along the right place. And I start the seminar and I come back and I say, well, why don't I start off with 1 way guaranteed to double your income tomorrow, 100% success rate worldwide. Would you like to hear that? Everybody says, yes, yes, yes. I say, well, it's very simple. I said, I want you to imagine that you have 2 types of tasks. You have tasks A, one side, and you have tasks B, okay? So tasks A are those tasks that move you directly towards your most important goals, all right? Tasks B are tasks that do not move you toward your most important goals, and even more, they move you away from your goals, all right? So if you want to double your income starting tomorrow, do only tasks A and stop doing tasks B. That's all. Just start doing only tasks A from the time you get up in the morning to the time you go to bed at night. And I heard this wonderful one-liner, which will make you rich. Before you do anything, ask yourself, is this moving me toward my most important goal, or is it merely a distraction, a waste of time? Is this moving me toward my most important goal, or is it merely a distraction? And if it's a distraction, it's in task B. Stop doing it. It's almost like slapping a person's hand Don't do things that are not moving you towards your most important goal. What is your most important goal? It's to double your income. How do you double your income? You get more results. How do you get more results? You do your most important tasks and you complete them. This is not a mystery. And I've had people come back to me over and over and say, I can't believe. Oh, and it worked. I doubled my income the following week. After 12 years of work in my field, I just disciplined myself not to do tasks B and only do tasks A. And anybody who's listening to this, I guarantee you, you'll double your income within the next few days if you just stop doing useless things. Those things that are moving you toward achieving the most important goals you have. And the most important goal you have is to double your income.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for your energy, for your constant dedication to making people better and pushing them to believe in themselves more, for all your books, for all your content, still going strong, for the amazing stories that you've told us, the inspiration, the live chats blowing up. People are feeling the love and tremendous respect for you. For you guys watching, check out Power Productivity. We've linked it up below. Yeah, Brian, you had something else you want to say?
Right. I just want them to be sure to tell everybody, you come to www.briantracy.com/entrepreneur productivity. So it's briantracy.com/entrepreneur productivity, and you get all the information. And you know, something that I've always done, which is a real key to my success, is I always unconditionally guarantee everything. Anything that you get from me, from a CD to a $2,000 or $3,000 training program, I have you take it, use it, try it out. And if for any reason at all you're not happy, there's no charge. And it's the same thing with this program. This is the most powerful single program. This is based on the most popular program of time management in the history of the world. It's in 42 countries. Companies buy this program by the thousand and revolutionize their companies, even in the midst of massive downturns. And so I always say the same thing. If you're not delighted, there's no charge. And so it's the same thing with everybody listening to this. Go to briantracy.com/entrepreneur productivity and get started on this program immediately. And if you're not happy, there's no charge, but I have no worries.
I love the guarantee. Well, we've linked that up in the description below, guys. You can go check that out. Brian, thank you again so much for your time. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Continue to believe, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you, Evan. See you soon. Do only 8 tasks.